Ever since we were kids, we all grew up believing one of the best Pokemon games wasn't even a mainline series game. That title goes to none other than Pokemon XD. A close second is Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, a game that was released 20 years ago and is in desperate need of a remake. Thankfully, the wait for the remake is finally over. Sort of. Thanks to this lovely person, I was able to relive one of my favorite Pokemon games. Now, this isn't just a remake, it might as well be a whole brand new game. There's a whole spreadsheet for it that I didn't read because, I want to keep it a surprise. Plus, I don't know how to read. By the first battle against Velma, you realize that we aren't in Kansas anymore. Rather than the iconic Eevee, you start with a level 1 Poochyena and Skitty, which isn't an issue except you're pitted against a level 3 Magnemite and Beldum, and it can be a fairly difficult fight. Funny enough, the creator of this ROM hack told me that someone struggled for 45 minutes on this fight because they had got a bad nature and IV combo that led them to get 2-shot. Even I may or may not have lost once testing out the game before I streamed it. But let's fast forward to the professor getting captured. The second battle has you pitted against a Galarian Ponyta, and has a pretty cool looking model, by the way. You can already tell this is not the XD you once knew. But as you go towards the port and the gate village, there are some real notable pickups, mainly a Machop and Poliwag with bulletproof that surprisingly blocks an unimaginable amount of attacks, not just regular but shadow attacks as well. I mentioned these two because they made up the core of my endgame team. The Agate Gauntlet didn't have too many interesting Pokemon to catch, apart from a fighting Poison Kakuna, which you can tell by the little board over here. Some of the types have already been mixed up, which is really interesting. Beedrill is one of my favorite bugs, despite it usually being a weaker starter area Pokemon, but now it has fighting type, so I thought it was worth throwing it in. The Old Man Egan battle after that was a spoiler for the upcoming Cyber Facility, as he, much like the Rainbow Rangers that can't count, had fan favorite starter Pokemon. I had the option to pick all 9 starters from Gens 1, 2, and 3. A majority of them also had broken abilities that often negated one of their weaknesses. This ranged from Sapsipper Mudkip, Storm Drain Charmander, and even a thick fat Bulbasaur. There was also the option to pick Pokemon that often lock behind the middle or endgame, such as Dratini with Speed Boost, and even a Larvitar. And I chose a Flash Fire Grass Fairy Chikorita.
Battle Slayer hits for... It should be a decent amount right to 0. It's a baby Pokemon. Bro, it did nothing. Oh my god. Fairy Wind does... These do something. Elite... No, this Chikorita's just cooked. Chikorita Absorb. Maybe crits with Rage Mode? Nope. Poor Chikorita. You're not getting used. Thankfully, our fighting Beedrill was stabbed, and a huge pickup on an early game Scyther carried us through the facility. It did help that they made the Lavrina fight a joke. They transformed her into a Gen Z kid or Beta. Which one are we on? Is it Alpha? That one. It will be locked in. Petri. She probably has like 2 shadow. What? What is this dialogue, bro?
Hey!
Yeah?
What the hell is this?
Oh.
Lavrina's team was comprised of the weakest Pokemon known to man. Baby Pokemon. She had a Shadow Igglybuff, Togepi, and Smoochum to pick from. I managed to snag all 3, but chose Smoochum because it's so adorable. I wonder what beautiful Pokemon it evolves into.
Okay. Yeah, and you gotta make the lips funny.
Oh, no, what?
From here we managed to save the professor, and now we ended up going to Pyrite Town. I was completely caught off guard. I thought there'd be so many more Pokemon we'd have to catch here, but surprisingly, a bunch of these trainers in the circle area aren't real trainers. On my first battle here, I was trying to outsmart this guy because I had seen the Wobbuffet model, so I'd hoped to not get countered or mirror coated, so I did the usual open up with Machop Fake Out, but I ended up one-shotting it, and I quickly realized these are Eevee training dummies, which is a welcome addition if you really want to min-max your stats for a Nuzlocke or any type of playthrough you want to do. I won't bother covering the Coliseum area since it's an XD video, and come on, you're not here for the single battles, okay? But if you really want to know, our team had excellent coverage to beat almost anything in there. Machop with Fake Out and Power Punch paired up well with its Moxie boost. Scyther had Fury Cutter to just set up a sweep at any moment. We also had Beedrill, Poliwhirl, and Ghastly as good coverage options for whatever Machop and Scyther didn't get. Our 6th team member was a Trapinch, just waiting there to be replaced by Smoochum once it gets purified. It's super slow and dies to almost anything. To add on to that, it levels up super late, and I just need a Pokemon that I can use right now. Everyone's favorite dancing villain Mirror Bee was up next. Beedrill was just the perfect Pokemon to have by now. It had Feint Attack, Drill Peck, Mach Punch, and Cross Poison. I don't know how many more types I can cover for. Nothing much has changed for Mirror Bee, as they kept him lore accurate. And don't worry, you'll be hearing his theme song so many times, as he's who you have to rebattle to capture the Shadow Pokemon that you have missed. And I may have missed a few. Mostly in the late game. In the ONBS new station, I missed Primeape and Kabuto because I may have underestimated my Pokemon strength.
There's no way we knocked him out in one hit. Well, we're not getting a Primeape. Thanks to Poliwhirl's Hypnosis and Smoochum's Sweet Kiss, the Ammonite, Rhydon, Magby, and Elekid were a cinch to catch. That is when Smoochum wasn't being as frail as a Shedinja without its Wonder Guard. Oh my, bro. We're about to knock it out. There isn't a major boss battle here since the commander does have 2 baby Pokemon, so let's move to Panax City. Here is where we almost fainted to a peon in the mayor's house with a speed boost Milotic. To be fair, we only had 4 Mon left, 2 of which were basically 1 HP going into this battle. But we had a secret weapon, the Shade Ball, a special ball designed to catch shadow Pokemon with a 5x catch rate. Milotic is a decently fast Pokemon, so paired up with that speed boost and a spread move, it would have easily swept our team. We were so lucky that it caught in 1 ball. The rest of the fights in the city are optional, as it's just the Rainbow Rangers, just dressed up as the gym leader of this area, and we're also already fairly overleveled, so we can just head straight towards Snaddle. After beating his cronies, the Snaddle battle begins. He opens up with a Celio and Piloswine. My openers are Machoke and Gengar, which honestly have to be the best team, as Machoke can fake out to safely let Gengar set up a nasty plot. Next turn, I can easily take out his 2 Icy Behemoths. Snaddle also had the final Shadow Baby, the Cleffa, and an Alolan Ninetales, which thanks to Poliwhirl's Hypnosis, we were able to catch them both. I was just a tad bit concerned seeing his final Shadow Pokemon was a Mew, a legendary Pokemon that could learn almost any single move in the game that could spell trouble for us. He paired Mew up with a Slowking with Power Gem and Psybeam that easily took out my 2 heavy hitters, Scyther and Gengar. However, Poliwhirl remains the MVP of this run, as I got the lucky sleep on Mew, allowing me to catch it in 1 Shade Ball, while my Beedrill took out the final Slowking. The battle after this is just naturally easy. It's against Chobin. He has a terrible team, but it's not done yet. He returns with a Robo Groudon suit, and not just a suit. He returns with a level 50 Groudon. At this point in time, my entire team was in the low 30s, so it was only natural he'd take them out with ease. And I was told this was a mandatory battle, so I had to win. And you may be sitting there thinking, this guy probably threw his controller out of frustration because it took him so many attempts to get this right. But dare I say, you're wrong. I came prepared. I won on my first go. If there's anything I hate in RPGs, it's grinding, so I was not gonna grind to beat this thing. And how did I beat this level 50 Groudon with such weak Pokemon? Well, let me tell you, 1 Pokemon, Gengar. Gengar's moveset is such a vast ocean of moves that it can rival the coverage of Mew. But 1 move is more important than all these moves. That move is Destiny Bond. And if you're unfamiliar with Destiny Bond, let me give you a quick reminder. If I use Destiny Bond on my opponent's Pokemon and he takes me out, I take him with me, regardless of current health status or whatever else. If I die, he dies. And that's Gengar 1, Robo Groudon 0. Wait, I guess they both died at the same time, so it's 1-1, but we won the battle, so 2-1. Gengar 2, Robo Groudon 1. On the SS Libra, I did some experimenting with my team. I desperately wanted to fit in that juicy speed boost Milotic, but you know when you have that intuition, when you get terrible RNG with a Pokemon, so it's going to be cursed for the rest of the run so you don't use it. It's like when Zoro throws that sword up in the air, but it actually cuts his arm in some weird wacky universe. That's what it felt like. At the Cypher Millennium Puzzle Base, we saw a familiar face, Thugzook. Man, that's a terrible name to have. He continued a streak of getting bullied, so now it's his turn to bully us. At this point in time, my team was still around level 30 or 34, and one of which was a baby Magby. His team, on the other hand, consisted of level 40s, with the highest being a level 45 Hisuian Electrode. I actually thought I had a chance here. At one point, I had 3 Pokemon left to his 3, but as soon as that Electrode came out, it was over. But again, you're supposed to lose here if the level gap wasn't an indicator. We get sent to the Snag'em base, but before we go, we gotta go to the Outskirts stand, the most important place of this game. Apart from getting to fight Mirror B again with the Shadow Gardevoir and the Eevee trainer, there isn't anything that happens here, but there is the most important NPC here. The vendor here offers Lodestones. If you wondered how I even got a Gengar, it's because they gave me a free Lodestone. A Lodestone, much like a Firestone or Leaf Stone, makes certain evolutions possible, in this case, trait evolutions. Seeing as I have 3 other trait evolution Pokemon in my team, this was a blessing. A very expensive blessing, but at least I now have my favorite Politoed, Machamp, and Scizor heading into the Snag'em base. At the base, we were sweeping every trainer until we hit the boss Gonzap, who we lost to his Shadow Entei, Suicune, and Raikou. Before even re-attempting this battle, I had to wander around the base, scrounging for any XP we can get from the optional grunts, seeing as we were so far behind on levels. On the second attempt, we got lucky as he sent in our Maldo and Suicune this time that allowed Machamp and Gengar, the dynamic duo, to work better. As now I could safely set up a nasty plot and a Sludge Bomb onto the Suicune, all while Machamp slowly gets his Power Up Punch boost and his Moxie boost. This battle was still fairly tough, even with some clever switches to Politoed and Jinx to allow some huge drizzle boosted surfs. The final turn came down to a 1v1 between my Scizor and his Breloom. But not to worry, a huge 4 times effective Drill Peck put it down. And just so you guys know, I didn't even attempt to waste one singular turn throwing a ball, and the match was that close. I can't say the same for the Zook rematch, however, as my now leveled up Machamp can simply Power Punch and Drain Punch sweep his entire team. Now that we were finally able to access the Cypher Millennium Puzzle base, we were able to catch so many good Pokemon that bode well with the late game. You had Alolan versions of Sandslash, Raichu, and Muck. Not to mention, there were so many outstanding steel types you could catch here. You had Aggron, Steelix, Skarmory, and a Metagross. But I opted to go for none other than Hisuian Arcanine because I desperately needed a good fire type, and it just had coverage that Magmar couldn't cover. Sorry, Magmar lovers. And I chose to add Mawile to my team because I just like the way it looks, you know? You don't need a better reason than that. The Gorgon battle here, dare I say, was surprisingly easy. He opened up by earthquaking his own Arbok with a Flygon and one-shotting it, preventing me from catching it. However, in the following turns, I did catch Arbok's twin Seviper in one ball after taking out the Flygon. The rest of his team were dragons, so Jinx made light work of them. Jinx also still had Lovely Kiss to sleep the Altaria and allow another one ball capture. Our newly added member of the team, Mawile, proved to be such a lucky charm as it survived this whole time with Shadow Guard and blessed us with all these one ball captures. From here we can finally head over to City Dark Island, and I only really want to break down one fight here. It's not the final battle either, nor the multiple legendary trainers here, because those are fairly boring matches. Those matches are just repeats of me sleeping the legendary Pokemon and chucking 100 balls at it, and there are so many legendaries you can catch. You got all the legendary birds, you even got a Mewtwo, Rayquaza, Deoxys, and even a Jirachi. They got everything. If you haven't caught them already, every legendary from Gens 1, 2, and 3 will be here in this section. I caught almost every single one with the help of Hypnosis and Lovely Kiss, apart from the old man's team, and we'll get to that later. Now, let's break down the most important fight of this island against Navigator Finley, aka the very first fight you can do. Opening up this fight, we have Politoed and Shadow Mawile into his Lantern and Golduck. This is a huge mistake. First thing you will notice is we are so far behind on levels. Not to mention, his water team just got a boost from our Drizzle, so we have to take this slowly and methodically as we are already losing this battle turn 0. We guard Shadow Mawile and freeze dry hits to only do 40%, and this is looking dire. But luckily, this Lantern is the key to victory, as this Lantern knows the move Discharge, so it takes out his own Golduck and in comes Tentacruel. The second I saw Discharge go off, wait, hold on, that sounds crazy.
The Joker's girl squirted on me.
So when Lantern used that move, the bulb lit up in my head. We can win this, as long as we don't take out Lantern too early, that is. Next turn, we lose Mawile to a brutal Hydro Pump from Tentacruel, but a second Discharge hits to bring his Tentacruel down to 60%. Machamp comes out of Force of Flinch from Tentacruel with a Fake Out, and it survives a Freeze Dry double up from Politoed. It's not looking good for us due to the Lantern using Scald this turn, so no KO is guaranteed on Tentacruel, which then causes us to eat another Side Strike from Tentacruel, but we do finally take it out with a nice Freeze Dry. Our Machamp also lands a crucial Drain Punch to survive the upcoming Discharge. The same can be said for our Toad, as it finally meets its cruel fate to the third Discharge. It's not all doom, as now we can finally reunite the dynamic duo, a Choice Specs Gengar paired up with our Assault Vest Machamp. With Sludge Bomb, Gengar can now put his Whaler to half health, and Machamp starts the Moxie Ball rolling with a Drain Punch on Lantern. Gengar does get slept, so I use its next turn to catch Wailord, and the GOAT Machamp finally picks up the next 2 KOs with possibly the best coverage move, Woodhammer. Machamp at this point is unstoppable. I just want to showcase this battle because if this was doable, the whole island was going to be a pushover with this perfect team I had assembled. Except the Lavrina rematch, that battle took me a couple attempts because I had to catch some of the Pokemon in there because they were my favorites. I wasn't going to use them, but I just liked them. Oh yeah, so the old man fight. I hate this fight. Not the first one because as you know, you fight them back to back. The first fight is a joke. I mean, look at this screenshot. Only 2 of my Pokemon are fainted. Now let's have a look at his team. Yeah, only 1 Venusaur left. I told you, Machamp and Gengar are almost nigh on unstoppable. I'll also skip over the Shadow Lugia because I caught it in 1 ball. The second Grevo battle after Lugia was more annoying than fun. That is, if you're trying to catch the legendary Pokemon he has. The only Pokemon I managed to catch was a Slacking that did not have Truant. I caught it in only 3 balls. Now, as for the rest of his team, I did not catch a single one apart from Slacking. Here's the rest of his team. At this point in time, I did not want to have to redo this whole sequence, and I was low on balls, and this is when I actually used items in battle to see if I could even catch one singular Pokemon. I did not. The only Pokemon I really wanted to catch was his Deoxys. I could have survived for so many more turns, but I actually ran out of Pokeballs. I was forced to catch his Deoxys in the end game from Mirror B. I even named it in honor of how many balls it took to catch. Now that Greevil's defeated, bullying Mirror B for your failed catch attempts isn't the only thing left to do in the endgame. Of course, I could show you the 1v1 Coliseum, but again, this is an XD video, only 2v2 battles are allowed. These battles also scale to your highest level Pokemon, so you'll just be seeing fast forward footage of my Machamp Moxie Boost sweeping everything with Drain Punch. Mount Battle, on the other hand, is fully revamped and has so many gym trainers and Elite Four members that you may already know. And for the sake of my sanity, I can't show you all the battles, but we can skip to the last 2 battles because they're the most difficult and gave me the biggest headache, or at least the second to last one did. I don't know how many times I attempted this till I got the items correct on my Pokemon. The battle starts and we send out the iconic dynamic duo into a Starmie and Swampert. This is the opener that I desperately wanted to see. This Starmie is like a Dynamax Pokemon because it can one-shot anything and outspeed everything on my team. This thing has ended so many more runs than you can even think of, so I wanted an early so it falls for a Fake Out and a Shadow Ball for my Specs Gengar. The Swampert almost revenge KOs my Gengar with a Nerf power, but it holds on. His Alolan Ninetales now comes out and sets up Hail. Keep in mind, I can't use Wood Hammer on the Swampert due to it having Sap Sipper, so I have to Drain Punch to sustain hits, and I can't risk a Power Punch just yet. My Gengar can also guarantee another KO, so I decided to save Gengar for later and opt to bring in Jinx as it can tank both of these guys' moves. The only issue with my Jinx now is that it has a Choice Scarf, so I have to hope Lovely Kiss hits so I could swap it out and then proceed to 2v1 the Ninetales or whatever else comes out after that. Machamp gets the first Moxie Boost on Ninetales after Drain Punch KO, and Scizor comes in, so I'm safe as Swampert is still asleep, and I can reset Jinx's Scarf with our trusty, tanky Mawile. Mawile easily tanks Scizor's Bug Bite. Drain Punch lands, and I'm concerned as it looks like it will be a 3-hit KO, but all my worries go away as the Hail is still on board and tells us, we got you with a 2-hit KO next turn. On us. We double up on Scizor in case he swaps out or the KO fails, but Drain Punch takes it out, and Swampert finally wakes up to Icy Windows. I'm not too concerned about the speed drop because that does nothing. We're probably moving last anyway. With Gardevoir coming out, we're now in dire straits. What will we do next? Machamp will 100% fall to any psychic move, but I can't give up these Moxie boosts just yet. So we double in on Gardevoir and hope one of them hits to take it out. You may call this unnecessarily risky, but I call it calculated, as the item my Mawile is holding is a Quick Claw. It's the only item my Mawile can use. I wanted to use leftovers, but for some reason when I picked it up from cast form, it just wasn't in my bag or my PC inventory, so I had to make the best of what I had. And it worked. Mawile proved to be the lucky charm, as now it's 6-2 as Star sends in his Latias. Now it may look like an unlosable situation, but we are not out of the clear yet. Remember how I said Starmie would always end my runs? Well, that's kind of true. This Latias would be the other half that ruins these runs. It's equally as effective as Starmie against our team, but this thing is bulky. Don't worry though, as I still have a few more tricks up my sleeve. We bring in Jinx to tank a Psychic while my Mawile falls. This exact scenario is what I wanted to happen. I can now bring in Machamp to provide a Fake Out flinch. We can also proceed to start Ice Beam with Jinx and hope for a freeze, but come on, we're not that lucky, right? Jinx eats an Earth Power, which puts us exactly where I want her to be. We keep playing around with the switch-ins as Politoed finally sees the light of day. With the Choice Scarf still equipped, Jinx is locked in an Ice Beam and keeps working down the Latias while Politoed eats the Psychic. Then Jinx falls to a Scald, and you know what that means, it's back to the Machamp Fake Out. Politoed's Hydro Pump does nothing on Latias. It's funny to say that Swampert's Earth Power did more damage to Politoed than we did to them. And to be honest, I don't know why I use that over Freeze Dry. But next turn, we can keep up the pressure and keep swapping out Arcanine for Machamp to eat a Latias Psychic. Politoed finally picks up the KO on Swampert with a Freeze Dry, and now it's 4-1. I think the victory is now confirmed. I double into Latias, but he takes out my Arcanine, and Freeze Dry does nothing. Now, it's just a toss-up of who will take the KO, as Latias has no spread moves. And Gengar comes in to steal the glory. What a match. I loved how close that was. We still have one more battle after this, so it's not over yet. We now reach level 100 and can face up against the creator of this ROM. And he has some pretty deadly custom Pokemon. He opens up with a custom Dark and Psychic Mewtwo, a DX003, and an Azumarill. Fun fact, I loved using that thing in Scarlet Raids. It was really good. Anyway, as per usual, the dynamic duo goes in to stun Mewtwo and surprisingly pick up a KO on Azumarill with Sludge Bomb. You gotta love that Mega Launcher and Specs damage. We may have picked up a KO, but due to the choice specs, we're now locked in on an awkward situation. Gengar is locked into Sludge Bomb, and he brings in Aggron, so we have to switch out to Mawile and start setting up these power punches with Machamp. Next turn, we get a lucky miss on Psycho Boost, and I told you this Mawile was lucky. We managed to secure our first power punch at the cost of an Iron Tail from Aggron. And next turn, I hope to get lucky with a Quick Claw Play Rough so my Machamp doesn't fall. And come on, I'm not even gonna build it up. It goes through. This thing is the luck magnet. It goes through and we get 2 KOs, putting us up 6-3 and leaving us up with a Typhlosion and Galarian Lightning. But this is where it gets too close for comfort. I protect with Mawile, but look how low my Machamp gets. With a Giga Impact and an Eruption, it survives barely on 8 HP. This turn isn't over yet, and you know what that means. Machamp can now hit a Drain Punch to bring it back to a save health total and providing it with another Moxie boost. But it may have been a mistake, as we could have had a 2v1 next turn as he was stunned from Giga Impact. Nonetheless, we see his final Pokemon, a Sapusaur, which is the evolution of Venusaur. It's a custom Pokemon native to his realm, much like the Mewtwo you saw earlier. Next turn starts and Typhlosion brings us back to our lucky number 8 with another Eruption. Mawile sadly faints, but we do get to KO on Sapusaur with a Drain Punch. We now bring in Politoed, which to be fair we should have done earlier as to not lose a single Pokemon in this battle, but that doesn't really matter anymore. Typhlosion now only has the option to go for Dragon Pulse due to Drizzle weakening his Eruption, and now we can deliver the final blow with a Hydro Pump. That fight was way easier than the previous one, mainly due to my team comp. That was actually my first attempt. I was hard-walled by the Starmie and Latias last fight so many times in the other battle. We now commemorate our win with a free Tyrogue, and that is Pokemon DX Director's Cut.